Hey, shalom, shalom to all my fellow brothers and sisters out there. It's me again, Damian Powell from YeshuaSavesAll.com. Peace be to you in the name of our Father and Master Yahweh and our Master, the Son of Yahweh, Yeshua HaMashiach. So, um, today's message is called A Call for Unity and to Stop Shaming Others. Before I get into the message, I want to say that I'm doing the message early today because sunset tonight is the start of Yom Kippur, Yom HaKippurim, the Day of Atonement. So I'm going to be in complete observance of that, focus on repenting and prayer, and that's what I'm going to be doing. And there will not be a message next week as for the observance of Sukkot. So I'll be focusing on that, rejoicing and celebrating before our Father Yahweh and His Son Yeshua HaMashiach, and then Elohim after that. I will continue on as the Ruach HaKodesh leads me. So let's get back into the message here. A call for unity and to stop shaming others. John chapter 13, verse 35. Yeshua says, "By this all men will know that you are my Talmudim, disciples, if there will be love among you one to another." So Yeshua said that the world will know that we are his disciples and we have loved one another. So you have to ask yourself this question: are you loving your brothers and your sisters? If not, how can you be his disciple when Yeshua says that this is the qualifier for it? The world will know that we are his disciples because we have loved one another, not that we have hated one another and fought with one another and accused one another. We know the scripture shuts down most of the Hebrew Israelites movement who hate the so-called white man as Esau because they're not loving their brother who is walking with Yeshua simply because of the color of his or her skin. Okay? And I did a video about this already before, but we know that Esau means hairy, and he was called an Edomite because of the red stew that he ate. None of it had nothing to do with the color of his skin. Okay? So that right there throws it right out the bat. How can you, all the whole world that you will know that we are Yeshua's disciples, you have loved one another, but yet they are hating their fellow brother because of the color of their skin? You see how this works? And even outside of the aspect of race, love has been missing amongst the Torah observant community for a while now. There is no love in how they present themselves as they run around pointing the finger at other brothers and sisters over the name, over the calendar, and interpretations of the Torah. Okay, you can explain to somebody your view about it, but people are not doing it out of love and condemning others over it. People should be seeing Yeshua and not you. I personally have fellow brothers and sisters who do not use the same calendar or name, but that doesn't stop me from fellowshipping with them. We are supposed to be acting and responding and walking in love. Okay? There is a lot of name calling. There's a lot of false accusations. There's a lot of belittling brothers and sisters to make them feel stupid, all while puffing themselves up to be the most knowledgeable. Let me make this clear. Not one of us has all the answers. That's why we humble ourselves. We go to our Father Yahweh through his Son Yeshua for revelation, and he will give us the words to speak. He will go through the Ruach HaKodesh to speak through us, to give us the words to speak, okay, and lead us into all truth. Humble yourselves, because at one time you were lost. At one time somebody had to be patient with you, okay, so that you would be able to learn, and they didn't turn you away because of their actions, right? They didn't say, "Oh, look at you, you're stupid," or whatever, you ain't right, you're not fit for this walk, you don't have the spirit in you. All of these comments that you hear people make. That is no way to show love to somebody else, to say you don't have the spirit in you. What is that to say to your fellow brothers and sisters? How do you know what spirit is in them? They're doing their best to walk in Torah as they know, okay? So you're supposed to unify with them and help them and pray for them, not accuse them and belittle them, okay? 1 John 4:20. 1 John chapter 4, verse 20. And if anyone will say, I love Elohim, yet hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who loves not his brother who is visible, how can he love Elohim who is invisible? And this command we have received from him, that whoever loves Elohim must love also his brother. So if you can't love your brother who you can see physically, then how can you love Yahweh whom you have not seen, who is invisible? Remember that. Put your differences aside and love your brethren and unite. You can have all the Torah knowledge in this world, but if you don't have love, it means absolutely nothing. That's why Yeshua said in Matthew 22, verse 36 through 40, when he was asked, Teacher, which commandment in Torah is the greatest? And Yeshua said to him, that you should love Master Yahweh, your Elohim, with all of your heart and with all of your soul and with all of your might and with all of your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it, that you should love your neighbor as yourself. On these, the two commandments hang on the Torah and the prophets, because the whole Torah is summed up in love. How to love Yahweh, your Elohim, with all your heart, soul, and strength and mind, and how to love your neighbor as yourself. And Paul, Shaul, he sums it up greatly in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1 through 13. He says, if I could speak in every tongue of men and that of messengers, and there be no love in me, I should be like a brass that resounds or a cymbal that makes noise. So, he's speaking hypothetically, if I could speak in all the tongues of men and of the messengers, okay, if I could do all of these things, but I don't have any love within me, then he sounds like a clanging cymbal. You know what it sounds like those instruments, cling, cling, cling. That's exactly what you sound like. If you don't have anything in love, you're just making a bunch of noise. And then he goes on to say, and if there should be in me the gift of prophecy, and I should understand all the mysteries and every science, and if there should be in me all faith, so that I could move mountains, and love should not be in me, then I shall have nothing. So you can have all the faith to move mountains, you can have all the prophecy of the world, okay? But if you don't have love, it is nothing. And if I should feed out to the poverty-stricken all I possess, and I should give my body so that I may boast, and there should be no love in me, I gain nothing. Love is patient and is kind. Love is not envious. Love does not shout loudly and is not boastful and does nothing that causes shame and seeks not her own, is not passionate and thinks no evil, and does not rejoice in iniquity, lawlessness, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes for all, and endures all. Love will never cease, but prophesying will end, tongues will be stopped, and knowledge will disappear. For we know but partially, and we prophesy but partially, but when completeness will come, then that which is partial will disappear. When I was a child, I talked as a child, and I reasoned as a child, and I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I laid aside the things of childhood. And now we see as by a mirror in dark reflection, but then face to face. Now I know partially, but then I will know just as I am known. For these three things are abiding: faith, emunah, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. So even Paul agrees that with the Torah, he's in agreement with me that the Torah is love. Okay, so you can have all of these things, he's saying, you can do all of these things, but without love, it means nothing. Love your brothers and sisters. Let's talk about unity. The scriptures make it clear that unity is important because if the believers are always divided and fighting, then how do you expect unbelievers to follow Yeshua based off of your behavior? We are called to be lights of the world. I personally know someone who I worked with, and she was an atheist, but I was still able to talk to her. I didn't put her in headlock over my beliefs, but I told her who Yeshua was. I told her about the Torah, and she was willing to hear what I had to say, because out of her own mouth, she says that I wasn't being a hypocrite in the word, okay, and that I helped as many people as I could. Like I said, I'm no better than the next man, but I try to strive to do what is written in the scriptures, okay? So even when the inmates were calling me names, even when the inmates were trying to disrespect me, they still respected me for the fact that I did everything that I could to help them. Okay, I was a firm but fair man, okay? And I'm still the same way today. So whenever they were in need, I would help them the best way that I could. I would go out of my way to get things for them and stay late after work to help them, okay? And she saw these things, and she was like, wow. Because the reason why she said she became an atheist is because her grandma was a hypocrite in the word. She would say, love others, and then she would go out there and point the finger and talk about other people behind their back. We can't reach anybody that way. We are representatives of Yeshua HaMashiach on the earth, okay? So anyway, unity is defined as the state of being united or joined as a whole, all right? Psalms chapter 133 verse 1 says, see how good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. You see that? So unity is a good thing for brothers to dwell together in unity. Now the testament of Joseph from the 12 patriarchs, chapter 17 verse 3, is another witness to Psalms 33 verse 1. For Elohim delights in the unity of brothers. Elohim delights in the unity of brothers. He doesn't delight in the division of brothers and the fighting of brothers. He delights in the unity of brothers. And in the purpose of a heart that makes pleasure in love. So there it is, love again. Now I'm going to read everything that I read from the New Testament, and we'll continue to read. It's from the Aramaic English New Testament. So Acts chapter 1 verse 14 says, these, all of them, were steadfast in prayer with one soul. There's unity. And with the women, with Miriam, his mother of Yeshua, with his brothers. Acts chapter 2 verse 1. And after the 50 days of Shavuot were fulfilled, all were assembled as one. Unity. Acts chapter 2 verse 46 through 47. And every day they were steadfast in the temple with one soul. And at home they were breaking loaves of bread, and while they were receiving food and rejoicing in the simplicity of their hearts, they were praising Elohim while finding favor before all of the people. And every day our Master Yeshua would add to those who lived among the congregation. Unity. They were all one people, and he would add to that congregation of those who were unified. Acts chapter 4, verse 32. The assembly of those men who were believing had but one soul and one mind, and no man among them concerning the possessions that he possessed would say that they were his. Rather, everything they had was in common. They were all united and did not consider their possessions to be their own, and gave to everyone who had need. Just think of the things that we could do today. We could all come together and be unified, that nobody would have need. We would have a community, and nobody would have need amongst our fellow brothers and sisters, just as they did in the days of the apostles in Acts. But how many people would say that you don't belong to us because of your belief? Romans chapter 12, verse 16 through 17. What estimation would you make of yourselves? Do likewise to your brothers, and do not indulge in arrogant thoughts, but unite yourselves. with the humble-minded. And be not wise in your own estimation. And repay no man evil for evil, but let it be your study to do good before all men. Do good before all men. Romans chapter 14, verse 19. Let us strive after peace and after the edification of one another. Romans chapter 15, verse 5 through 7. May the Elohim of patience and the consolation grant to you to think in harmony with one another in Yeshua the Messiah, so that one mind and one mouth you may esteem Elohim, the Father of our Master, Yeshua HaMashiach. 1 Peter 3:8. The summing up is that you all be in harmony. The summing up is that you all be in harmony. That you be sympathetic with them who suffer and affectionate to one another, and be merciful and kind. We are all in the same walk, suffering the same afflictions. So we have to be sympathetic with one another and affectionate to one another, not fighting with one another. 2 Corinthians 13:11. Finally, my brothers, rejoice and be perfected and be comforted, and may harmony and quietness be among you. And the Elohim of love and peace will be with you. As for the peace of one another with a holy kiss, and the Kodesh holy believers ask your peace, the peace of our Master Yeshua the Messiah, and love of Elohim, and the fellowship of the Ruach HaKodesh be with you all. Amen. So as we see from all those scriptures that were presented, they dwell together in unity, harmony, and love, and there wasn't a whole lot of constant fighting over everything. Now let's talk about not putting your fellow brothers and sisters to shame, or anyone for that matter. We have to stop talking about people and their actions by voicing it to others. It's gossip in a sense. We should not get a preconceived idea of what a person is like before we ever meet them. When you do this, you are planting seeds in someone's head as if they are an awful person. We know that the brothers of Joseph treated how they treated him, and he did not shame them, and which we're going to see from the scriptures I'm going to read below. These are examples how we are supposed to act. We always feel the need to defend ourselves because of what somebody has done to us. Let us pray for them and not put them to shame. So let's first go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5 through 6, where Paul says, love is patient and is kind. Love is not envious. Love does not shout loudly and is not boastful and does nothing that causes shame. So love does nothing to cause shame. So when you're putting somebody to shame, that is not the love of the Torah. You see that? So let's look at the Testament of Joseph, chapter 10, verse 5 through 6, where we'll be reading from for the rest of this. My brothers knew how my dad loved me, and yet I did not exalt myself in my mind, although I was a child. I had the fear of Elohim in my heart, for I knew that all things would pass away, and I did not raise myself against them with evil intent, but I honored my brothers, and out of respect for them, even when I was being sold, I refrained from telling the Ishmaelites that I was the son of Jacob, a great man and a mighty. Okay. Now, Testament of Joseph, chapter 11, verse 1 through 5. Therefore, my children, you also have the fear of Elohim in all of your works before your eyes, and honor your brothers. Honor your brothers. For everyone who does the Torah of Yahweh will be loved by him. And when I came to the slave market with the Ishmaelites, they asked me, saying, are you a slave? And I said that I was a homeborn slave, so that I would not put my brothers to shame. Testament of Joseph, chapter 15, verse 1 through 4. Now after 24 days the Ishmaelites returned, for they had heard that Jacob, my dad, was mourning much concerning me. And they came and said to me, why did you tell us that you were a slave? And behold, we have learned that you are the son of a mighty man in the land of Canaan, and your dad still mourns for you in sackcloth and ashes. When I heard this, my bowels were dissolved at my heart. When I heard this, my bowels were dissolved and my heart melted, and I desired greatly to weep. But I restrained myself that I would not put my brothers to shame. And I said to them, I do not know. I am a slave. Testament of Joseph, chapter 16, verse 1 through 6. Now the Nephite woman said to her husband, Buy the youth, for I hear, she said, that they are selling him. And immediately she sent a eunuch to the Ishmaelites and asked them to sell me. But since the eunuch would not agree to buy me at their price, he returned, having tried them. And he told his mistress that they asked a large price for their slave. And she sent yet another eunuch, saying, Even if they demand 2 minas, give it to them. Do not spare the gold, only buy the boy and bring him to me. The eunuch therefore went and gave them 80 pieces of gold, and he received me. But he told the Egyptian woman, I paid 100 pieces of gold. And though I knew this, I held my peace, lest the eunuch should be put to shame. Testament of Joseph, chapter 17, verse 1 through 2. Therefore, my children, you see what great things I endured, that I would not put my brothers to shame. Therefore, you also should love one another and hide one another's faults with patience. That's think about it. When you're not talking about somebody, you're not gossiping about somebody, you are hiding somebody else's faults and not airing them out there. Let us be patient with one another. Let us be patient with our brothers and sisters and not air out their faults and their flaws for others and put them to shame. We would not like if the shoe was on the other foot and they were airing out all of your flaws to the world. Let us pray for them. Walk in love. Let us walk in unity and stop fighting with one another and having all this division amongst one another in the body of Yeshua, so that the name of Yahweh will be praised. There is no way that we can make his name a praise or we're not loving each other and walking in unity, as we know that Yahweh is love. That's what it's all about. We can't be hypocrites in this walk, because the Gentiles will see this and it turns them away. Paul talked about this extensively in Romans chapter 2. So I pray this has been an eye-opener, and I pray that everybody heeds to this call for unity and love and stop shaming one another. As always, my Father Yahweh bless you in Yeshua's name, and thank you for joining in. Shalom.